Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I got a high-age, low-proof bourbon on the bar. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is Tin Cup 14-year. So Tin Cup is not a brand I have a ton of experience with. I have had, and I actually do have, an old bottle of the kind of original Tin Cup, which is more of like, I think it's an American whiskey. And I have had the Tin Cup 10-year, which a lot of people were saying as a low-proof bourbon, that was probably one of the better low-proofers out there. And ever since these 14-year ones started showing up, people have been saying generally the same thing. This is an 84 proof bourbon. And these usually run around 75 bucks. I got mine on a Black Friday sale. I paid 56 bucks for it. So at that price, I was willing to roll the dice on a low proof bourbon, being that I just kind of generally like things above 90, closer to that 100, 110 proof range. And then also cask strength stuff. But this one being at, the high age statement, this is also, I should mention, release number 3, the Mount Sneffels. So these are kind of named after the like the 14ers in Colorado, the peaks that are over 14,000 feet. So for those of you playing along at home, this is release number 3. So everybody's saying that this one, again, for the low proof, is really good. On the nose, I got to tell you, I would absolutely not guess that that's an 84 proof bourbon. There is a ton of flavor coming off of that. Wow. Man, that is all oak, definitely a lot of oak, like those caramelized wood sugars. A really nice kind of spice to it. Yeah, that's, man, that's got an extremely bold nose for 84 proof. I've never had this before, so this will be my first sip ever. And based off of the nose, I'm interested to see what the palate does. Let's get into it. Cheers. So after that first sip, that's actually pretty good. I don't think that first sip was quite as bold as the nose was, but that's my first sip of whiskey for the day. So as we get through this one, that might change a little bit. This is a very standard bourbon. It's kind of down the middle. This is MGP juice that's, I guess, proof down with Colorado mountain water or whatever, so whatever that's worth. Yeah, it's definitely got kind of a standard MGP profile, a little bit of nuttiness on it, on the palate, and maybe a little bit on the nose. There's almost kind of like that nuttiness kind of brings with it like a sweetness that's almost like a little bit of maybe like a peanut brittle. Not like peanut butter, but like the peanut brittle. I don't know if you consider that candy, but whatever classification you would put that in. And then it kind of has your standard bourbon flavors, your caramels, your brown sugars. Not much on the vanilla front. But there is really a nice spice to it on the nose. Let's get back into the palate here and see if this changes on the second sip. Oh yeah, that's getting better and better with every sip. That's extremely impressive at 84 proof. Tons of flavor. Surprisingly, the finish is lasting forever on this. It does have a decent viscosity and mouthfeel. You're going to get that with the extra age, but when you proof something down so much, a lot of times you lose that. This is one of those ones where, I'm typically inclined to say I would like to see it at a higher proof because that 84 proof point is typically too low for me. But flavor-wise, this does just fine at 84 proof. And it's almost one of those ones where if they had boosted the proof up, that extra age might have come across as being over-oaked. It may have gotten into the tannic area. This has a perfect balance of some really, really nice oak notes. But I think the proof actually helps that in not being, over oaked and tannic. So there's no bitterness to it all, but you get the really, really nice sweet notes, the caramelized wood sugars like I was talking about before. And the more I'm getting into this, I said there wasn't really much for vanilla at the beginning. The more I'm getting into it, the more I'm getting like a vanilla bean sort of flavor. And that is just blended really, really nice with that oak spice. This is a great bourbon, actually. If you like things at a higher proof because you like the bite that comes along with the higher proof bourbon, you know, you're not going to get that with this, but the flavors on this drink much higher than 84 proof. And I am a person who sometimes likes that extra bite with, you know, that the higher ethanol can provide. You know, it doesn't add flavor to it, but sometimes it just does kind of add experience to it. I don't like my bourbons to be too smooth, but this one is just a really, really nice kind of balance of that. And yeah, I can't say enough about how much flavor this has at the 84 proof point. If you're a fan of MGP, I think you're really going to like this. This definitely has the MGP flavor profile. Like I said, I was getting a little bit of that nutty kind of peanut brittle note. But yeah, the more I'm getting into this, I had a few sips when I cut away there, the more I'm kind of finding some of those, the vanilla is actually showing up and actually getting stronger and stronger, but those really just kind of general caramels and brown sugars. I hate to repeat myself because like brown sugar, I know caramel is kind of the main bourbon note that people find. I really like the ones that are bold in that brown sugar note, so that one tends to stick out to me a little bit more. And so I say that in a lot of my reviews, because a lot of times, however bold that particular note is can really make or break the bourbon for me. And it's really nice on this. I think, you know, again, to talk about those caramelized wood sugars, the brown sugar note is kind of in that category. So yeah, let's get into the final sip here. As I made my way through this pour, I started to wonder what the rye content is of this, because I'm getting, the more I get into it, the more I'm getting like a higher rye sort of profile. And I don't know what the mash bill is on this. I don't know if that's available or not. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen. But I'm definitely starting to get, like, there is a really nice spice on the back end of the palate. And that really contributes to how long the finish is lasting. It's kind of that spice that kind of hangs out. The other thing is I'm starting to notice a little bit of the kind of clove notes. They're light, so that it's not like like an overly rye influenced bourbon, but I'm kind of finding some of those nice baking spice, clove, stuff like that notes on it. And again, I don't know what the rye content is, so I could be totally wrong that this is a high rye bourbon, but it definitely has things that remind me of high rye bourbons. And typically on rye whiskeys and high rye bourbons, a lot of times the sweet note that I get is a vanilla note. And I'm starting to get, like I said, more and more of that the more I kind of get into this, which is interesting because that didn't show up for me at first. So yeah, I would say this one at the $75 price point, I don't know if I would go out and buy another one. But at the $56 price point, I'm happy that I bought this. I'm happy to have this on the shelf. This is a fantastic entry-level whiskey for someone where it's rich in flavor, but it's not overwhelming on the proof. A lot of times, you know, if you want to recommend something lower proof to somebody who's just getting into bourbon, a lot of times the lower proof ones, they really just don't bring that flavor, and this one absolutely does. Sucks that you got to pay 75 bucks for it, so I usually don't recommend expensive whiskeys to people that are new. But if you know somebody who's getting into bourbon and they're just exploring at that lower proof point, this would make a great gift whiskey for someone who's kind of at that level of bourbon drinking. But I also think that somebody who's more experienced bourbon drinker can still enjoy this one. I think it's really, really a nice whiskey. So let me know, folks, what you think of this one. I'm pleasantly surprised by this. Again, I don't know if I'm going to race out and buy another one at the $75 price point, but I don't know. It's a damn good whiskey. And again, shockingly flavorful at the 84 proof. So anyway, let me know if you guys have had this one, what you think. This has been Tin Cup 14-year batch number 3, release number 3 on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on the next one.